Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to Illinois Stories. I'm Mark McDonald in Pittsfield at the Pike County All Wars Museum, which has only been here a short time. It started planning, years ago, but they opened this spring, and you'll know this location because you'll see this gamma goat from the Vietnam War out here in the parking lot. They tell me there are very few of these left. They weren't very effective in battle, but there are just a few of these left, and this is on loan permanently from the Illinois Military Museum. And there's a lot more to see inside as well. Come on in. Chandra Foster, the All Wars Museum in Pike County, is it's an old idea, but
Yes.
it's a new thing.
Yes.
And you and members of the Historical Society have been working on this idea. You've been cogitating this for a while, haven't you?
Yes, several years, in
Several
fact.
years, yeah. And then this building that we're in was the Veterans of Foreign Wars place. This is where they met.
Yes.
And they disbanded, so this building became available. Is that the right?
Yes, and the Historical Society decided that they wanted to purchase it, and it kind of just sat around for a little bit, and then Lloyd Lauber, who's a Vietnam vet, and some other vets started kind of thinking and mulling it around and thought, oh, maybe they did have a purpose for this building after all. That's kind of how the ball got rolling.
Yeah. And of course, the Pike County has had family members who have had a lot of this in their possession for years.
Yes.
And they probably looked forward to having a place where it could be shown.
Yes, we've got
rather than hidden away.
So many families who say, I don't have a use for this, or I knew it was my uncle's and I wanted to go somewhere to a good home. So we're that good home for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And many, instead of trying to loan, actually just end up donating it to us.
That's wonderful. As we stand here, the All Wars Museum has only been open for a couple of months. But you actually already have ideas about expanding this because there's a building on the property that you would like to have house the more recent war material, like Desert Storm and the Middle East stuff.
Yes, we do have quite a bit of that coming in as well. However, originally our space was only so large, and then the school district put the building up for sale, and the Historical Society was able to purchase it through a grant from the hotel motel tax here in town, and now it's ours as well.
It wasn't in this condition though, was it? It took a lot
of work. We took it down to the studs. We had some major floor repair to do as well, and so we kind of literally built it from the ground up, it felt like.
Here's what I find interesting. You all didn't hire a contractor to do this. You had people who were interested enough, who had skills, rebuilding skills, contracting skills, that kind of thing, and they did it voluntarily.
Yes, huge. We couldn't have done it without all the volunteers, especially early on with the Rotary Club, adding not just materials but labor as well. And then sometimes we found out when we did have to hire out, like for painting the ceiling, a vet wanted to donate. So I mean, so a lot of services that we thought that we were going to have to end up paying for ended up being donated because they started to see what our kind of vision was and they wanted to contribute to it.
Yeah, yeah. And just so people know, you teach history.
Yes.
You're a intermediate school teacher, is
yes,
that right?
At the junior high.
Junior high teacher, and you teach history. You have a master's degree in education, right?
Yes.
So you're a good person to be curating this. Let's go down the way to your first stop, which is a Civil War tent, okay?
Most of our artifacts in the Civil War tent were acquired from the Historical Society. One of them being the jacket here by a Pike County resident based on what we could find with the Historical Society records. All the rest are reenactment quality pieces. But as our records show, it seems like he was a vet and he would wear this in parades here.
Man, this thing has
town.
had some rough time
yes,
too.
you can see
tell.
it's been chopped off and it's been.
I think it's been shot
modified.
through a couple of times too. I mean, I'm not going to touch much because I know how fragile it is. But my goodness, look at this.
Some of the repairs. Yes.
That's priceless right there.
So we were very happy to.
Now the 99th Infantry. Tell me about that because what we've got here is we got a list over here. The 99th was a very active and a big infantry, wasn't it?
Yes, because the 99th was primarily taken up by all Pike County soldiers. In total, we had 3,132 soldiers who decided to sign up for the Union. And some of them did go to other companies across Illinois, but the 99th primarily was going to and be serving near Vicksburg or the Southern campaigns.
So they mustered in with U.S. Grant when he came through this part of the country, and he was headed to the Mississippi River.
Yes, they embarked on the Mississippi at Florence. So again, they mustered up in Pike County, and they left from Pike County directly to the war.
Got it. Okay, and you actually have a couple of diaries here from some of the soldiers from Pike County. Yes.
Charles Shaw kept very good records of his time in the service, and we're so glad that we have them in as great as condition as we do. Unfortunately, being paper and pencil, you can't display them as easily as we would like.
And that's why you've done what you've done over here, because what you've done, and you've scanned them, and that way you don't have to open them and close them, open them and close them. And people want to, if they can read his handwriting, they can get a flavor of what it was like that night in camp.
Yes, the Historical Society originally scanned them, so we're hoping that we can one day include those on our website so that anyone who's interested or any Civil War scholars could use that material for maybe something else.
Yeah, there's too much in here to talk about all of it, but this medical equipment is really interesting, and these come from a local doctor, a Pike County doctor, not necessarily involved in the war, but this was the
Civil War
era.
Yeah, Civil War era.
And what you mentioned here is interesting, because I didn't know anything about this bloodletting tool that you described. But would you describe it to me again about how that folded up
this
in
actually,
the box?
the middle part actually folds up several times. And it fits nice and neatly in this box, but unfortunately they didn't have medical grade cleaners like we do today.
Oh, that's grim.
And so you could actually see the blood stain.
Oh, that is grim.
Inside. Some of our guys wanted nothing to do with the box.
Oh,
so
look at these tools. Look at this tourniquet. Look at the screw on the top of that.
It's very medieval looking in many cases to realize.
Amputation knives. It must have been hell to have to be treated that way, but that's the best they could do. That's all they had. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So there are students who come in always get a kick out of the gruesome part of war.
Okay, Spanish-American War. Now, I wouldn't have thought that there were so many Pike County men involved in this. Are these all Pike County men?
All Pike County, Company A.
Company A from the Spanish-American War.
And mustered up here in Pittsfield. So under their banner, you can see it, Company A.
If you look, well, I don't know if the camera can make
Probably
it out.
not.
But it does. I mean, it clearly
Pittsfield.
says Pittsfield, if you're lucky enough to be able to make it out.
It's a blow up of that actual picture over in the corner. You might be able to make it out a little bit easier.
Of this one here. Yeah, you can see it better here.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we've just found a picture of this particular group leaving Pittsfield, and they were photographed on the square. So we're looking forward to getting our hands on that and being able to add that to that Pike County aspect of the Spanish-American War. And we also included their muster roll as well, which we gained from the Historical Society.
Okay. So you're in the process now of trying to match up what you know about this and match up what you know about the picture. That's really hard to do, isn't it? Especially from 1898, for heaven's sake.
Yeah, not everybody was photographed a lot. So,
no. Okay. Well, very good. Well, we're going to proceed with World War I. Thank you for visiting with us.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Lloyd Lauber, we're looking at you some years ago right now. You're the president of this All Wars Museum. That's your Vietnam service picture, right? That's when you were in Vietnam.
Yes, sir.
You know what? We don't talk to Vietnam veterans enough. What was that? How did that experience shape your life? Was it a point in your life that really determined what the rest of your life was going to be?
Yes, when I stepped on a landmine in Vietnam.
Did you really?
Yes, sir.
Oh my God.
April 21st, 1969, about 11:30 in the morning. That's when my life changed forever. And about 2 years in the hospital.
Oh my goodness.
And but I served my country.
Yeah.
I was drafted in October '68, and I'm glad I served my country.
You were able to save your foot or your leg or
yes,
whatever?
I do. I saved both my legs. And I've met the doctors and the nurses that took care of me a few years ago.
Right.
In Saigon.
Yeah. You had good ones.
Yes,
because
I did.
It sounds like that should have been.
And one of them was from Springfield, Illinois.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now right over your right shoulder, we're looking at, this was a Trimmer U back in 1969.
Oh, my goodness, yes. Like I said earlier, that's closet shrinkage. it's dreaded. Everybody gets it, but it's, what do I say?
Before we leave this spot, I know we're not in a very good angle, but you do have, you're not the only one up here. These are pictures of many people, and everybody's from Pike County,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Who
Yes.
have served at various times during various wars and conflicts.
We honor all veterans, but we're especially our Pike County veterans, because
Mm-hmm.
Pike County has had a tremendous play in the defense of this country.
Yeah.
From Civil War days, Revolutionary War.
We just saw the Civil War and the Spanish-American War, and it's remarkable how many Pike County boys went off to all these wars.
3,132 Pike County served in Civil War.
3,000 just from Pike County.
Just from Pike County.
Remarkable.
That's a documented fact.
Take me to World War I.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Whenever possible, what you like to do at this museum is you like to showcase the local Pike County soldiers, and that's what you've done. Is this one up here? Is that a Pike County regiment up there?
I'm not sure it's a Pike County regiment, although there is a Pike County soldier in that picture. And the picture with the red dot on it, his name was Elmer Stickman. He lived here in Pittsfield. Yes, sir.
Okay.
He lived in Pittsfield out west of town. And this is his uniform and artifacts from him. That very hat on top is the hat that he had on in that picture there.
Is that right?
Yes, sir. And 95% or more, probably more than that, of the artifacts in our displays come from Pike County soldiers.
Mm-hmm. And their families, I guess, have this. They've kept it all through the years.
Yes.
And they, for whatever reason, think, let's let other people see this. Huh? Let's let this be seen.
Yeah, a lot of people, it's in their basement, in their garage, in their attic. Well, bring it in here. They can loan it or donate it. Mm-hmm. We put it on display. We take care of it. And that's why their memories and people that knew them can, they remember their veterans.
Yeah. I love this. This helmet here, this German helmet, was found by one of your Pike County soldiers here in the field.
From New Canton, Illinois.
And it's got an address on it. And this is a funny story. What happened? How did this get here?
That was taken off of a German soldier and wrote on it the address back in the United States of America in New Canton, Illinois, and dropped in the mail just like that and arrived home. That's exactly what happened.
Put the address on the helmet and send it, huh?
And sent it through the mail
Isn't that
just
remarkable?
Like that.
That is a remarkable. Yes, sir. It's remarkable enough to have the helmet, but then to have the address on there. And you get all kinds of stuff, don't you, Lloyd? Because this, for instance, came into you as a Civil War artifact, right?
A family
but
brought
you checked it out.
Brought it in and said their great-great-great-grandfather, whoever it was in the Civil War and had this canteen. Well, we did some research on the internet, like we have to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
And we found out it's a World War I German canteen, and we had to call the family, and she said, okay.
Yeah. So, says, well, I thought that she heard the story a little different, right?
We want to be as accurate as we can, and sometimes we miss it, but we try to be as accurate.
Well, no, I mean, you did your homework on that one.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is an actual World War I gas mask. That was the major, mustard gas was the major thing used in World War I. And
oh, man.
The artillery shells, the trench art were from wounded soldiers
explain what trench art is.
Trench art is what wounded soldiers, when they had all this time laid up in the hospitals, they made these vases. Now, I don't know how they bent that. I haven't done enough research to find out. But they're bent, they're hand hammered.
Those are shells.
Those are shell casings. The projectiles over, they're 75 millimeter cannon shells.
Yeah.
And
how did they crimp them? But they did a really good job. I mean, because you can tell it's sculpted. It's really beautifully done.
It's sculptured, yes. And there's some wars name on there. Yeah. They're hammered into the shells.
That's remarkable. I guess they brought it home.
The center one is actually a shell that's what they start with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Now, this is an interesting example, too. This came from a local family. This is everything that this soldier probably had with him in the field,
This is true.
That's remarkable.
Yes, and again, all these artifacts that are local people, and they're donated or loaned, and they can have them back if they want. We keep a record of everybody that brings something in. One thing that this coat, I didn't tell you this earlier, Mark, but this coat has blood stains on it, and we don't know where those came from. But the cleaner could not get them out, It could have been a barroom fight, it could have been whatever, but that sometimes happens with original artifacts.
Yeah.
That's how the leggings were, what they wrapped their legs with so they wouldn't skin them up when they were crawling through trenches and briars and whatever.
Well, I imagine there was a lot of bloodshed, and it would not necessarily been shot, but I mean, just like you say, those hedges and everything you have to crawl through. My
yes,
goodness.
sir.
Well, this is a neat exhibit. Thanks for showing it to us.
Well, you're more than welcome. We try to feature everything in here from Pike County veterans as much as we can, and the artifacts, and we're very particular on what we display. We have like you say, Chandra is our curator, and she does a fantastic job. Very creative. But we try to identify everybody that comes in here, and there's like the picture up there of the Pike County men in World War I taken in front of the courthouse. And the nice part about that picture, they got numbers, and everybody is named in that picture. We know who they are.
That's unusual.
That's unusual. Yes, we get these pictures. These are yard pictures here. They call them because they're like a yard long. A lot of times those aren't identified, and we got gobs of them, but we don't know who they are, and we like to know who the people are. And
Chandra, we're looking at World War II veterans now, and the interesting thing about this portrait and the others we're going to see here, painted by a fellow who now lives in Quincy, who is a Vietnam veteran, determined late in life that he could be an artist, and is a very fine one. And these are all members of his family who served in World War II. He's done a lot of work for you, hasn't he?
Yes, he has. These were one of our earliest pieces to the museum before we were still a shell, and he had sent these to us to use, and we were chomping at the bit trying to get walls ready to put these up. And he's actually, even though he lives in Quincy now, he's a Pike County native.
Is that right? Okay, and of course these are Pike County relatives
and all of his relatives would have been Pike County.
And we're going to see more of his artwork above there when we go to the Vietnam Wall section.
Yes, you will.
But okay, World War II. Boy, as we stand here, D-Day, the anniversary of D-Day has just occurred, and we're looking at what these young men faced when they finally got to the beaches of France, and what a horrific situation that would have been, being shelled like crazy while you're trying to walk your way in a rough sea, hauling everything you're going to need with you over the months that you're going to be there. Goodness gracious, what an experience. But as you know, without that experience, we would not have won that war.
Of course, yes. And we have a depiction of that in one of our dioramas that one of our Vietnam volunteers, Jeff Snyder, does all of our dioramas for us.
He's talented.
He is, but this is not to scale because the diorama would have to be 12 feet long in order to have it to scale. So I told him we didn't have quite that amount of room. Yeah. So he made it work for us.
Yeah, well, the ships had to look big enough to see, and of course on scale that wouldn't work for the beach and the battlement and everything. But it's interesting when you see how these men were just packed into these carriers.
Yes, the Higgins boats, which again, without them, D-Day probably wouldn't have been possible, or the death toll would have been much larger. Yeah,
and all of this material here that we see here were donated or given by local families of veterans.
Yes, and some of it just recently. And as Lloyd talked about, and again, we get a lot of people, I don't know what this is. I know it's a relative. I know he's from Pike County. Do you want it? And so we got our phone at our grand opening in April. And so she didn't know when. So we were able to kind of track that down. And so kind of a new addition. We hadn't had a phone quite
Somebody
yet.
brought back a Japanese flag.
Yes.
Which you have.
Yes.
Wow.
So I've got a lot of the material from the Pacific, especially.
Over here, General Eisenhower addressing the troops.
And then our jackets from K.C. Barber. He was a pilot. So
this one up here?
That's an Eisenhower jacket. No, his is the long winter coat. Okay. Yes.
That's in really good condition.
Yes, they took very, very good care of.
And that was a pilot's coat? Really?
Yes.
Huh. I wouldn't have suspected that.
Well, I don't think he wore it when he flew.
No, not behind the wheel. Okay, well, thank you very much. Interesting. Lloyd, we've worked our way up to the Vietnam War, and this is, of course, the war in which you were injured and almost lost a foot or two, I guess, huh? But we're able to make it. To make it back and into good health again. And we're looking at some of the artwork here by Dan Wagner, the Pittsfield native who is living in Quincy. He's done all of these people that we're looking at here lost their lives in Vietnam. And below their portraits are the rubbings from the Vietnam Wall in Washington, D.C. that were done at a recent visit. So it's a wonderful tribute that you have created for these men.
Thank you.
And Mr. Myers here that we're looking at here, this is his uniform as well, which is a wonderful addition to the exhibit.
Yeah, his mother brought that in not too long ago, and we put his picture down here beside his uniform. He gave his life.
Just below that, we look at another diorama here, and I assume this was produced by your local friend.
Yeah.
He
Yes.
is just terrific.
He is.
What's his name again?
Yes, that's Jeff Snyder. He's from Plainville, Illinois, but he comes down here and volunteers, and
Wow.
He's a Vietnam veteran, and a lot of this stuff is his stuff from his pictures and dioramas that he was involved with in Vietnam. He was a combat engineer is what he was.
You have kept, I think this is a Life magazine, is it not?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to be real careful
Yeah.
with this because
Sure.
I know that it's fragile. But this is an issue in June 27th of 1969, The Faces of the American Dead in Vietnam. And this, you tell me, this is 1 week of those killed in Vietnam, and there were what, 250 of them?
There's around 250 pictures in there. From
1
the
week?
soldier, 1 week in
Oh, my
Vietnam.
goodness.
And don't forget there's 58,232 that were killed in action in Vietnam. There's probably more than that. They just couldn't find the remains. They're still finding them. But this is very emotional for a lot of people, including myself. I was drafted in 1968, and my roommate I had in trade school in St. Louis after high school, we were both drafted at the same time. This is his picture right here, Thomas Nebel. Well, Iowa. We were roommates for 2 years. We both got wounded about the same time. He was a different company in Vietnam. He got shot in the stomach, and I had lower leg injuries, and he did not make it. And last year there was a big dedication by the mayor or the governor of Iowa, Branstad, who just moved on to China, ambassador, in Kyoto, Iowa, from him and all the other soldiers from that county that lost their life in the service. But Tom was treated by a nurse from Springfield, the same nurse that treated me in Saigon at the 3rd Field Hospital. And she remembered Tom.
That's remarkable. And you stay in touch with her, don't you?
I stay in touch with
That's
her
remarkable.
from Springfield.
She's a retired nurse. She worked at Memorial Medical Center all those years.
Yes,
And now you're able
She's
to
an
stay in
RN.
touch with her. Wow.
We stay in touch with her. And she met her husband there in Vietnam too. He was a corpsman with the Army at that hospital. But things like that are really unique. This is soil from Khe Sanh, the Battle
No
of Khe
kidding.
Sanh.
A jar of dirt from
Jar
Khe
of
Sanh?
dirt, that's reddish type soil. That's the way the actual soil from that area looked like.
Darn. You've got a light facsimile of a rice paddy going on back behind here.
This is like mud from the rice paddy.
This is interesting. This MREs, were these called MREs?
No, they were called sea rations.
Sea rations. Okay.
Sea rations.
These were left over for you guys from World War II.
World War II in Korea, they got rid of them from, we had them. This is actually part of the sea ration packet right here. The salt, pepper, the cream, toilet paper, waterproof matches, a can opener to open the can, a P38 they call it, package of cigarettes. Then you had 3 pound cake and whatever else that said on the bottom, meatballs with beans. That was a pretty popular one that people. We carried 3 or 4 of those in our backpack, and heated the cans with a piece of explosive called C4 explosive. It burned. You had to be set up with a concussion, but you could burn it to heat sea rations. That's what we used to heat the meals. All right. Ho Chi Minh sandals. Anybody in Vietnam probably knows what these were. Whoops, excuse me. The Vietnamese.
Looks like a tire tread.
They were tire treads over discarded military tires. And you could actually buy those, or the Vietnamese would wear them. But little things like that are kind of unique.
There's another diorama up here that was created by your friend.
Our friend, Jeff Snyder.
There's a picture of him too. This is Jeff Snyder when he was in Vietnam, huh? Okay. That's Jeff Snyder there.
And he was a combat engineer, and this was actually a diagram of a rock cut. There was a cliff on this side and up above, and up here in the brush was some Viet Cong soldiers ambushing throwing grenades down on these trucks. And actually, Mr. Snyder was in this truck right here, and the undercarriage was blown out, so they kind of got landlocked. They couldn't move, so they had to call in a loach or a gunship to kind of get the Vietnamese out of the brush. Yeah. That's actually a diagram of the Ba Loc Pass, a little bit north of Saigon.
This rifle that's right below here, this is a carbine, I guess?
Yes.
What's the story behind that?
Okay, that was a Russian-made carbine that was used, that they supplied to the North Vietnamese that used against us. It was a sniper's rifle, and a soldier from Griggsville, that's north of here, brought that home as a souvenir, and he actually brought it through the LA airport, just like that. He carried it through the LA airport. He had to have that certificate. Times have changed, yes, sir.
To have that certificate to get it through there.
Different world now.
Yeah.
But he had to have the certificate with him, but he actually carried that through the airport, just like that.
That's remarkable.
This is the people that served in Vietnam will probably know what this is. This is called a short stick. If you were short, it means you didn't have much time left in country. Well, the Vietnamese capitalized on that and made these little sticks. Sell them to the GI and call it a short stick because it's not very long.
Short timer.
Short timer.
Lloyd,
short timer, there you go.
Lloyd, we're short on time, so I'm going to ask you to invite the community in here to see this. This is a remarkable museum, and thank you for letting us come in to take a look at it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. The Pike County Pittsfield All Wars Museum is open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from noon to 4 from April to November. So you've got all spring, summer, and fall to take a look at this. And it is free. They do accept donations, but it's free to the public. With another Illinois story in Pittsfield, I'm Mark McDonald. Thanks for watching.
Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you. For a DVD copy of the program you've just seen, send $19.95 to Network Knowledge, P.O. Box 6248, Springfield, Illinois 62708. Be sure to include the program name, subject, and when the program aired. You can also order with your credit card by calling 800-232-3605.